Hey guys, I just want to say that if you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I'm a small content creator and could really use your support. I live stream 100% of the gameplay for games that I review, and I'm also always trying to keep up with the big named movies that are being released. If you would like to support the channel monetarily, you can do so through PayPal, or even better yet, you can get yourself some merch from my Teespring store. If you want to get better connected, you can do so through the social links in the description below, and please do consider joining the Discord. If you do, you can voice chat with me through my headphones while I live stream, and you won't be recorded on YouTube or Twitch. That's all I've got, guys. I hope that you really enjoy the video. Hello everyone, and welcome. You guys must be real gluttons for punishment, because we are returning to Kevin Smith's Vision of Eternia. I'm Mike, and this is Mike's After Action Reviews, and this is the After Action Review for Masters of the Universe Revelation Season 2. So guys, as always, I have my script with some, well, not my script, I have my notes to keep me on track here, but I'm going to be doing this review just a little bit differently. So this is not a spoiler review, because here at Mike's After Action Reviews, the spoiler reviews is where I go plot point by plot point, almost scene by scene, either through a video game or a movie or series, and tell exactly what happens through everything, through the story, okay? And that's not what I'm going to do here today, but I do want to give a spoiler warning. So this is your spoiler warning due to the nature of the show and certain things that have gone on with how the show is made. Spoilers are unavoidable. So while this is not a spoiler review where I'm going to go plot point by plot point, I am going to be revealing all of the show's big secrets. If you at all want to watch this show without spoilers, don't watch this review, go watch the show, and then come back. So this is your spoiler warning, okay? But we're going to get through this review, get this thing started. Because of this being Season 2, I'm not going to go through all of the characters. I'm going to kind of skip out of the production. We already know this was, thought up by Kevin Smith, and it was released on Netflix. There's your production. And then I'm just going to be going over the major changes, major things as far as the characters, because we already know the characters from Season 1. So if you haven't seen my Season 1 spoiler review and you haven't seen my Season 1 review, if you don't want spoilers, either go watch Season 1 or my spoiler review and then come back, or be prepared for spoilers and maybe be a little lost, because I'm not going to go over stuff that happened in Season 1, except for a few things that are related to what happened here. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get this thing started. So the plot picks up right where we left off in Season 1. So Skeletor picks up the sword. This is what I'm saying, spoilers, I already warned you. Skeletor picks up the sword in Season 1. He says, I have the power, and he claims the power of Grayskull, and he had just stabbed Prince Adam. Basically what happens immediately after this is the sorceress uses her little shield magic around the group, including, Andra, Teela, Prince Adam. She puts it around them. She sacrifices herself so that way they can get out of there. She ends up getting killed by Skeletor, and Man-at-Arms Duncan gets taken prisoner by Skeletor. And then after they escape, being that this is a 20-minute episode, so there are 5 episodes, each just around 20 minutes each, a little over 20 minutes each. Not a whole heck of a lot actually happens here. Even in Season 1, that was an issue with Season 1 too, is like a pacing issue where it's like too much happened, but it was like too fast and too slow at the same time, because you only got 5 episodes and you got to get all this stuff done. Basically, that's the first episode, and then episodes 2 and 3 deal with some other things, and I'll get into that, and then 4 and 5 is just the climax. So not a whole big adventure or anything here. What I have in my notes here is it's very slow and feels like it goes nowhere, and we'll kind of get into that. So the first 3 episodes, actually, after the good guys escape Skeletor, the first 3 episodes really are just a character drama about Skeletor's abuse and manipulation of Evil-Lyn. This show, so that's the first 3, and then like 4 and 5 is just the big fight at the end. It is not a superpowered action adventure that He-Man fans would expect, probably would want. So if you enjoyed this and you are a He-Man fan, like, good for you, that's great. But I like He-Man. I'm not a super fan of He-Man or anything, but I've always liked watching the cartoon and stuff when I was a kid. I haven't seen them all, not a super fan, okay? But this is not what I wanted out of He-Man. This is not what I come to He-Man to see. So there's that. And we'll get into a little bit more of kind of what goes on in the story as we go along here. But characters, acting, so, again, we already know the actors. I've covered that in my other review of Season 1. They all came back. Nobody changed. The big ones, though. Skelly God. I forget what he's officially called, but Skelly God is what everybody's calling him. Skeletor with the power of Grayskull. He doesn't act like the big, you think of Darth Vader. Darth Vader is a super serious, very evil, like you feel darkness and dread and evil coming off his character. That's how I've always imagined Skeletor in everything that I've ever seen him in, and all of it, except for that terrible live-action movie. He just looked really weird, but even there, he wasn't a goofy, funny guy or anything like that. Here, he's played by Mark Hamill, who also voices the Joker. Here, he is played off as kind of a goofy Joker-like character rather than a pure evil threat. His character is totally compromised compared to other things that I've seen him in, where he's actually almost scary. Like, he's really evil. Here, he's kind of a joke. I don't understand this. He makes Evil-Lyn the new sorceress after he gets the power, and then it's so stupid because he loses the power to Evil-Lyn. Okay, which brings us to Evil-Lyn. So he loses the power to Evil-Lyn after she becomes a sorceress. She uses her power as the new sorceress. And I'm just going to I have so much to say about this, but I'm going to get through this, and then if you have questions and stuff, hold them till the end. Don't go to the comment section yet. Watch the whole video, because we're going to cover a lot of the weird stuff in this in the miscellaneous section, okay? So he gives the power to Evil-Lyn. He just basically has a sword. He goes, you're the new sorceress now, okay? So Evil-Lyn, her character progression from the first season in this is completely undone, and not only undone but also betrayed, because she becomes kind of a more sympathetic character in the first season, and here she just basically just totally flips that over. All of that was for nothing. She's completely, absolutely taken to be evil here. She's completely evil here. All of her endearment towards the audience in the first season is completely gone, and I thought that was just the stupidest thing that they could have done, because you just erased all of her character progression. She actually, because Skeletor loses the power to her. So this is the thing, is that through the whole first season, it was this big thing for Skeletor to come back and, oh, he's not dead yet. And then immediately, like in the second or third episode, like literally nothing happens between the first and third episode with anybody. There's no conflict. It's just character drama. And then before any conflict can happen really between Skeletor and the Masters of the Universe characters, he loses the power to Evil-Lyn, and then she's the bad guy all of a sudden. And then you only have 2 more episodes before the writing here was just not the best. That's all that there is to it. So she's the main bad guy, and all she wants to do is destroy the universe. She doesn't want to rule the universe. She doesn't want to defeat He-Man. She doesn't want to become queen of the universe or any of that stuff. She just wants to completely kill everything. That's her big thing. And she said, and her explanation for it is that she's sick of life and how painful life is. So it's a mercy to just kill everything in the universe, and she's going to give the universe her mercy. My question is, though, is she actually the sorceress? This is something that isn't really explained. It's kind of a plot hole. We'll get into it. We'll talk about it. But is she actually the sorceress? And if you follow Masters of the Universe at all, you'll know that the Sorceress is bound by magic to stay within Castle Grayskull. So if she's not the Sorceress, or if she is the Sorceress and she has all this big power that the Sorceress has, can she even leave Castle Grayskull to go destroy the universe and do all this stuff? It literally isn't. It's not explained, and it really kind of sucks. That brings us to the good guys. So the good guys. Prince Adam, and actually this part isn't so I've gone over some spoilers already, but this next part isn't even a spoiler because Prince Adam becomes when he it's already talked about in the promotional material. They have Savage He-Man, which is basically when Prince Adam says that he was chosen by the Sorceress to be He-Man, so the sword is a conduit, but actually the power comes from him. So, if the power comes from Prince Adam, how does Skeletor use the power when he uses the sword? Can't Prince... Yeah, see, it doesn't make sense. Like, if you have to be chosen, and also... So anyway, so when he calls upon the power without the sword, he becomes Savage He-Man. Which, before this show came out, Savage He-Man was actually He-Man that already existed. He's in the first season. He's one of the guys, like, I think he rides a Triceratops or something. That's actually a character called Savage He-Man, and he is not anything like the Savage He-Man you've seen here. So Savage He-Man, originally, this is a Mattel. Yeah, Mattel Toys. And they made the He-Man action figures and then made a show about him. Okay, that's what this was about. There was He-Man, and then literally the exact same mold. They used it to make another character and it was He-Man, but they changed the way that they painted him and called him Savage He-Man, and he was supposed to be a He-Man from the past, and he's not. In Savage He-Man is a big brute, stupid Hulk-like creature. He's not even. He has no mindless. He's a mindless creature of rage and strength, and he has all the strength and stuff of He-Man, but he doesn't have his mental faculties as a person. So. Basically in doing that, they've completely rewritten the lore, because they even included the original guy. I forget his actual name, but they called him Savage He-Man, and he, like I said, lived in kind of like ancient times or whatever a long time ago, and was He-Man at that time, because there have been multiple people who have been He-Man. Okay, he was He-Man at that time, and they just called him Savage He-Man, and he was a normal guy, just like He-Man normally is, and when he would call upon the power with the power sword, he would become Savage He-Man. Okay, he would become He-Man, he called himself Savage, that was it. So here they just said, oh, that's Savage He-Man. That's stupid. I'm sorry, that's stupid. This show throws out so much lore, throws out so much of the lore that everybody's known and loved for a long time, and it's kind of insulting. So he's just a stupid, dumb, Hulk-like monster. That's what they've turned He-Man into in this season. And that's like the whole thing for his character. You see Savage He-Man for about 5 minutes. Really, he does, like, that's it. And then the rest of it is the real main character of this season. Everybody said that, season 2's going to be different. It's going to be more about He-Man because season 1 was all about Teela. Well, no, actually, that's not true. Season 2 is about Teela. And that brings us to her character. So it is revealed in this season that she is the daughter of the Sorceress. And she, like I said, she's the main character, just like the first season. And as the show progresses, she begins to have sorceress-like powers, and then she eventually goes through a transformation towards in episode 4. You see her. It might have been actually episode 5. Right at the end of the show, she gets transformed into the new sorceress. So you have Evelyn, who's the new sorceress, and then you have Teela, who's also the new sorceress. And we'll get into it. Oh, sorry, I have to hold some of this because I'm about to get it. We're about to get into it here, okay? And then also Andra. I just want to mention Andra, and this is I'm going to mention some more things about her in the end. But basically, Andra, Teela's friend, she basically does almost nothing here, and has actually less development this season than she did in the first season, where in the first season she had very little development as well. And I'm going to mention some stuff about her later, too, in the miscellaneous section. So here we go into the miscellaneous section. First of all, He-Man is not here. Hugely disappointed. Same problems as the first season. Actually worse. some of these problems are actually worse. He-Man is not here. It's all Teela. When you do see He-Man, his fights are completely meaningless because he fights like while the big battle is going on, where Teela is actually taking care of action. He-Man is fighting the little grunt guys, normal warriors, while Teela's off like fighting Skeletor and Evil-Lyn and all this. Okay. Well, actually, Evil-Lyn. So the fights are either meaningless or they're not shown because there is a final battle between He-Man and Skeletor that happens, but it actually happens off-screen, where it kind of cuts back to He-Man doing a little bit of stuff, and it's not Savage He-Man because he gets the sword back. Okay, we're into spoilers, so it doesn't matter. So he gets the sword back, and it kind of cuts a couple of times to the battle, but you don't actually see the final battle between Skeletor and He-Man. And what you're actually going to be watching is a battle between Evil-Lyn, who's supposed to be Dark-Lyn, this sorceress that Skeletor made the sorceress, and Teela, who's also the sorceress, which in itself is kind of a plot hole, doesn't make sense. This show throws away all of the established lore and rules for the magic in the universe of Masters of the Universe, okay? I have a list of plot holes I'm going to go over here in a minute, but this really, every established rule or plot point or thing that was supposed to be world built through all of the years of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, or just, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, it's completely gone. It doesn't matter anymore. We are literally living in Bizarro upside down world where the rules don't matter anymore, okay? Teela, as I kind of said, she's the main character, but not only is she the main character, she is now the leader of the Masters of the Universe and actually is the true hero now. And He-Man, by the end of this show, is kind of relegated to becoming her sidekick. So He-Man is just like the little, you're a little sidekick here. I'm the real person. And Andra, this is why I mentioned her, becomes Man-at-Arms at the end of the show, even though Duncan, the actual Man-at-Arms, is still alive. And Andra, nobody cares about her. Nobody knows anything about her. My thing is like, develop the character and then develop her into Man-at-Arms. Nope. No development. She does nothing in this. She does one thing in the first season, another thing in this season, like one scene of things in the first season, and one scene. She has one scene in this season, and then at the end of the season, hey, you're Man-at-Arms now. Basically... So getting into plot holes, this is where it really flies off the handle, because this is basically a point A to B thing here. All that happens, the whole plot of this show is Skeletor is Skelegod, he loses the power to Evil-Lyn, all of the Masters of the Universe summon up the armies of Eternia, and they go and attack Castle Grayskull where Evil-Lyn is sorceress. Okay, that's it. That's the whole show. Nothing else happens but that. Here's where the problems are. So, plot holes. There's a lot of them. I have a huge list. This whole section right here is plot holes. Here we go. Okay, so they explain that somehow, even though it's not actually explained why, they explain how Prince Adam, uses the sword as a conduit to control the power of Grayskull. But the power is actually within him. So he can call upon the power, become He-Man, but he's Savage He-Man. Savage He-Man, as quoted from Teela from the show, is all rage and no reason. That makes no sense. Why would and I'll explain to you why. So why would the power of Grayskull make you into a mindless beast? Okay, just why would it? That's not established anywhere. That's not anything. It doesn't explain it. The sorceress, okay, literally is exactly the same thing as Savage He-Man. The sorceress has the power of Grayskull and does not have a sword of power to focus her power or act as a conduit. She literally is just unbridled power of Grayskull, and she is not a mindless beast. So why would a person having the power without using the sword of power be a mindless beast? Okay? And that gets into more of what I'm saying. There are many many unexplained new abilities given by the power. The rules for how the power of Grayskull works have totally broken down. There is no sense to what goes on here. This show has literally become, they can do it because the writers say they can do it. These are all MacGuffins. I'm going to go through them really quick, and then I'm going to kind of break them down. Okay, so Skeletor, after he has the power, he can do a couple of things that have never been done before. Turning people into zombies. I don't know why the power of Grayskull would make him be able to do that. Making Evelyn the sorceress. How? Okay, so what you're literally saying to me is that He-Man anytime could have just gone, hey, here, you're the new sorceress, boom, and zapped him into being the sorceress, even though they show in this season how you have to go through a transformation to become the sorceress. How is Skeletor able to make someone the sorceress and give them the sorceress's power, even though there's a transformation to make him to make him the sorceress that Evelyn didn't go through? And this is my next point. Teela had to go through the transformation to become the sorceress. Evelyn didn't go through the transformation, so how is she the sorceress? How is she able to do all the things that she does? Also, literally in the show, they explain how the champion of Grayskull, He-Man, or Skeletor, because he has the power sword now, even though the power sword is only a conduit, and actually Adam is still the champion. So the sorceress of Grayskull chooses the champion. So it's not... They literally explain this word for word. Like, the champion of Grayskull is not the person who holds the sword. It's the person who is chosen by the sorceress and then given the sword. The sword is not the power. The choice of the sorceress is what makes you the champion. Okay? So then how is Skeletor able to use the sword at all and become Skelly God? How? It doesn't make any sense. And also it explains that the sorceress is actually the big one, and then the champion of Grayskull is actually serves the sorceress. The champion of Grayskull serves the sorceress because she has the untapped. She basically has untapped. Is tapped into the unlimited access of the power of Grayskull through the this. It explains like where all the universe's magic flows to Grayskull, and the sorceress has access to that. Okay, so they tell Evelyn, like, you're not his slave. You're the sorceress. That makes him your servant. Then how was he able to make her the sorceress if he is not the one that actually has the power to do something like that according to the lore? The lore totally breaks down here. It is so ridiculous. It is mind-boggling. It's like having my brain smacked with a hammer. Okay, so... Okay, just a second. Summoning demons from Subternia. That's never happened before. Apparently He-Man could have summoned demons from Subternia anytime he wanted, or the sorceress could have done that. The sword making the sorceress more powerful. So Evelyn at one point takes the sword, and that's the thing. She steals the power sword from Skeletor. When stealing the power sword from Skeletor, and she does it in a stupid way too. She basically seduces him, and before actually going in for the actual move, she grabs the sword and just goes, "Okay, I have the sword now. You don't have it anymore." So she stores it, and somehow that makes her more powerful. But that doesn't make sense, because basically how it works is, here's the universe's power. It flows to the sorceress. The sorceress then gives that power to a person, and that person uses the power sword to focus that power and become He-Man. Well, then why... So basically, the power that the power sword has comes from the sorceress. The sorceress having the power sword would not make her more powerful with the power she already had. That does not make any sense. I'm sorry, I'm getting excited here because this is just... Okay. Giving other people He-Man powers without... He-Man superpowers without the sword. So we've already explained that He-Man has explained that he is the champion, even if Skeletor has the sword. Well, if that's true, then how did Skeletor use the sword to become He-Man? Also, if that's true... Later on in the show, you see He-Man. He powers up. I don't want to spoil too forget it. I'll just tell you. The main evil character becomes Evelyn, so then Skeletor and He-Man team up. Skeletor goes to He-Man and says, "Look, I can help you defeat Evelyn." So He-Man takes the sword and he goes, he gets the sword later and he says, "I have the power." Okay, bam, he becomes He-Man again, and then he aims his sword at Skeletor and goes, "Here, you have some power too." He goes, bam, and Skeletor becomes Skelly God again. Okay, so basically He-Man and Skelly God exist at the same time. Skeletor does not have the sword. How are you able to have the power of Grayskull without having the sword and without being the champion? Okay, it makes no sense. Instantaneous healing. You see, that may have been in the animated series. That's not necessarily a huge deal, but there's a scene where you see Evelyn after she's powered up, and see, this is stupid too. So if the power sword made Evelyn more powerful, Then when He-Man steals it back later and gets the Power Sword for himself, how is she not powered down from being Super Evelyn? And I'm going to put an image up here so you can see Super Evelyn called Darklyn, who's supposed to be the sorceress and also having the power of the champion of Grayskull, He-Man. So once she loses the sword, wouldn't she lose that and just become the normal sorceress again? No, she stays like that. It doesn't make any sense. So then you see her get cut though, and then it like her face gets a little cut and it goes right away. It heals away. Well, then if that's true and you had the power and the power can do that, why didn't the actual sorceress when Skeletor tried to kill her, why didn't she just instantaneously heal? It doesn't make any sense. Destroying Preternia. So one of the things that Evelyn does, one of the first things she does when she becomes super-powered Evelyn, the sorceress who also has the power sword, she basically just goes, hey, watch this, everybody, and she projects herself to all of Eternia and goes, watch this, and destroys heaven. And everyone in heaven dies. Where in the world do you have the power to do that? There are rules set around what the sorceress can do. Why do these rules not apply now? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the writers had no creativity. They needed to create big, huge problems for these characters to overcome, even though they did it in an unimaginative way. Okay, so now, people using or not losing the power of Grayskull when not wielding the power sword. We kind of already talked about that. Skeletor uses the power sword, uses the power of Grayskull without using the power sword. He's just given it to him by He-Man. Evelyn is super powered up sorceress with the power sword, but then when it doesn't have the power sword, she stays that way. I don't know why. By the end of the show, basically the big resolution, the big conflict is Teela. Like I said, He-Man and Skeletor fighting, and He-Man fights kind of these grunts, these little demons that Evelyn summons. But really what actually happens is Teela completes her transformation into the sorceress, and she shows up and fights Evelyn. So there's He-Man, who has the power sword, Evelyn does not. Skeletor, who does not have the power sword but still has the power of Grayskull. Evelyn, who has the power of the power sword even though she doesn't have the power sword, and also has the powers of the sorceress even though she was made the sorceress by someone who did not have the power to make her the sorceress. And she fights the sorcerer, the actual sorceress who has the power to be the sorceress. And that's the final actual conflict, and you see them battle each other. Okay. After that resolution of that whole fighting thing, there's a part where as Teela, after that whole resolution, Teela is able to leave the castle, Grayskull, which is very just extremely against the lore, because the lore says that if you are the sorceress, in order to be the sorceress, you have to take on this great responsibility, give up your life, give up your capability to even leave Castle Grayskull and stay there. You're bound to it. You magically cannot leave Castle Grayskull. Well, basically how they explain this is when Teela is transforming into the sorceress, she goes into this pool that requires her to do this transfer to, she goes into the pool. The old sorceress comes in, she says, I'm your mother. Teela says, I know you're my mother. There's not really a big resolution there. They just kind of say the typical boilerplate stuff that characters say to each other. Oh, I believe in the power of love, so I'll be able to save the universe, and love will overcome all odds. Okay. And then as she becomes the sorceress, she's doing the transformation. The sorceress saying, "You're gonna have to give up this and this and this, but it's the great responsibility and it's a great honor." And Teela just goes, "I don't have to give up the ones that She says, I don't have to give up the ones I love to be the sorceress anymore." Or she says, "I don't have to be the sorceress because they are the source of my power too." And then afterwards, she's able to leave the Castle Grayskull. That doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no actual explanation to why Teela is able to make it so she doesn't have to leave the castle. There's a god in this universe, in Masters of the Universe, and his name is Zor. And he has these specific rules. They could have brought Zor into this and made it. Like, they could have done something where they wrote it in where he said, then I'll make it so you can leave Castle Grayskull. They didn't do that. They just said, nope, that rule just doesn't apply to me because I'm Teela. It doesn't make any... oh my god, it doesn't make sense. And then, after the whole big conflict, you see Teela and the royal family, so Adam and everybody survives. Skeletor gets just punched off into the middle of nothing. And there's kind of a thing that I'll go over with Skeletor at the end as well. But then you see Teela and Duncan, and then Adam and the royal family, King Randor and all them. And they're there. And it's so stupid because it actually, and everything I'm telling you right now is plot holes, by the way, remember? So then there's the biggest plot hole, and kind of irritates me, is just that there's no resolution between Teela through the entire second season. There's no resolution between Teela and the royal family, whom she abandoned in the first season. So in the first season, her whole character motivation and everything that had to do with every single thing about what she did and her motivation and who she was in the first season was that she abandoned the royal family because she was sick and tired of their crap. And then in the second season, we don't get a thing where she says, "I'm sorry, hey, I'm back, will you forgive me, I shouldn't have left," or anything like that, anything. Because you have to realize that the royal family did not lie to her. The king, well, not the king. The king did not lie to her about Prince Adam. That was the big thing, is you didn't tell me who that Prince Adam was, He-Man. The king didn't know either, man. Why would you abandon him? He didn't know. He's just as mad as you are. And that was stupid. That's a big plot hole. And then basically the last thing that you see in the season is Skeletor goes back to Snake Mountain, and if you remember from season 1, there's all those technological people who worship Motherboard, and Skeletor is defeating them all, killing all these people, fighting them all. It doesn't necessarily show him being killed, but he's just beating them all up, and he says, you worship this machine. He starts shooting he shoots a fireball at it, and it stops, and then it's an eagle, and it slowly transforms into like a woman, and the woman comes down and her head kind of opens up and you see Hordak come out, and if you know, Hordak comes out of her head and it's the spirit of Hordak, and then you see Skeletor, he's like, and you don't really see what happens to Skeletor from that, but he obviously this machine thing is more powerful than him, and it's because Hordak is the one that actually saved Skeletor's life, a long time ago in the lore of the character. When Skeletor he was a normal man, he got his face melted off, he went to Hordak, this great demon, and he said, "Please, Hordak, save my life," and Hordak kept him alive and made him what he is today. So they're trying to set it up for a third season, but I can't imagine that would happen because my understanding is that it's not doing very well on Netflix, and it's rated really bad right now with audiences, so I can't imagine that it's doing very well. It didn't even make it into the top 10 on Netflix, so I don't know. But overall, okay, so my final statement and review score. Obviously, you guys can probably tell. I'm going to give this one, I'll come right out and I'm just going to give this one 2 thumbs down, bad. I mean, the writing was bad. Actually, that's what really sucks, is like if you have good writing and maybe some writing for some of your characters isn't good, you can kind of get a pass as long as the story's actually really good. Maybe there will be a few things that people don't understand, like why was the character this way? But then the rest of the writing was really good, and so people go, that part didn't really make sense, but I like the rest of it. No, every single aspect of the writing was bad. This was contradictory writing. We have years and years and years of Masters of the Universe established lore and rules behind how the magic works, and how certain things, the master, like the power of Grayskull made a being a super being. It's like the super soldier serum, but magic form. That's what He-Man was. All of this, I can raise the dead, I can destroy Preternia, I can raise demons from hell, and all this stuff doesn't make any sense. And this whole thing about, even if you don't have the sword, you can have the power, you can have the power. What is this, Oprah? You can have the power, you can have the power, you can have the power, you can have the power. Everybody can have some power. Why don't they just make all of the characters from Masters of the Universe? He-Man just goes, boom, you have some power, you have some power, you have some power, you have some power. Why didn't you just do that? And then he's got a super team that can just go around kicking ass of any bad guy, The writing was terrible. The characters were ridiculous. I feel bad for some of the actors, like Mark Hamill, who's just an amazing voice actor. I don't know, he's been having some bad luck. It might be him. It might be him. Star Wars was done really bad, and they kind of turned on their own characters and turned on their fan base and kind of turned away from their core ethos. And now Masters of the Universe has too, and he was involved in both those projects. But my understanding with Mark Hamill is that in some of these projects he's been doing, he hasn't been exactly very happy with the way the characters have gone. So I feel bad for him. I feel bad for... I said this when I did my first season 1 review. The actors, actually, the voice acting and stuff was done really well. And they have some really big name actors, but this was terrible writing. Terrible. See, the graphic CGI looked really good and everything like it did in season 1 even too, but this was just really bad. And I mean really, I would recommend not seeing this. If you're not satisfied with the spoilers I've given you and you really want to know what happens, go look up a story synopsis or something, because this was just crap. Like so far I'm at 34 minutes for this review, and this is going a little bit long, and I'm about to be finished, but this was basically an hour and a half long, and it was a waste of my life. Like, it was really bad. My wife and I watched it. At parts, we just laughed at how stupid some of the writing was for this. So there you go. Here at Mike's After Action Reviews, we give this one 2 thumbs way down, and not even on a funny scale. Like, there's kind of like the bad, and then when it's so bad, it's good. This was just so bad, and it was insulting. And like I said, it contradicts years and years and years of lore and writing that has come before. And it's really stupid. And probably it's sad because Kevin Smith made this, and there's kind of been some media controversy that I'm not going to get into, but I can't see his career going very well after this as far as writing shows and doing certain things. Some people I've even heard have been so mad with him that, like, Clerks 3, which is supposed to come out, which is going to be his next big project, that they're kind of almost going to boycott it. And I'm not going to get into whether that should happen or not, because I don't really get into the controversy too much, but yeah, this was really, really bad, and it was because of the writing. So, but that's all I've got, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this. At least I can guarantee you that you'll have enjoyed this video if you watched it from front to back more than you will the Masters of the Universe Revelation Season 2. So I'm getting sick and tired of getting betrayed. Like I said, Star Wars, and now this, getting betrayed with characters that are beloved. So hopefully at some point they can come along and revive this series and reboot it or something and make it a whole lot better than it has been. So, but that's all I got today, guys. I want to thank you all for watching and just say God bless you all and have a good night.